nobody comes up and talks to me about my video essays, but the devlog cultivates a lot of like opportunities.
This is Jordan, and alongside of Rae and Noah, the three of them together make up O&Co Games, the creators of TetherGeist. For the past 2 years, Jordan has been doubling down on YouTube and Devlogs as the main marketing channel for his game, and guess what? It worked.
That's a devlog that has a little more than half the views, but significantly less, and yet it got even more subscribers.
We're talking almost 1 million eyeballs on the game, a thriving Discord of over 1,200 members, and just to put some icing on the cake, successfully kickstarting his game so that they could go full time.
Creates a much more loyal audience that is like deeply engaged.
So in this episode, we are going to be peeling back the layers of this proverbial onion and discussing why you should consider using Devlogs as your main marketing tool.
Onions have layers.
Starting from ideation and moving all the way to release, A/B analytics, the whole 9 yards. From the actual inception of this, like what caused you or what caused the team to choose Devlogs as like the main marketing tool for TetherGeist?
Looking at other indie devs and seeing it work for them was the genesis of it all, right? There's a devlog series out there for a game called Vicious Legacy. I don't know if you've seen that one, but I really liked his first devlog, and we watched it just like gain a ton of traction when he literally didn't have an audience yet. And so as a team, we kind of looked at each other like, we should try this. Like, even if we get just a few hundred views on our first devlog, we'll be excited. And that one did really well. It got into the 20,000s, which for us was like nuts. Because I've never had, like, I had a band in college and we never got more than 1,000 streams on anything. Like, any creative endeavor I've done has never gotten a lot of attention, you know? So anything in that, like, oh my gosh, 5-digit range.
1,000%. You pop the champagne. Let's go.
Oh yeah, it was so exciting. So that was the whole idea behind it. And I'm an old man at heart. I'm a bit of a Scrooge with like TikTok and what else are the kids using these days? Twitter. Twitter's been around for a long time, but I don't know. Just the other channels always felt a little more fake to me, a little more plastic.
Yeah.
And every time I've watched a devlog series on YouTube, I've always just really appreciated how authentic indie devs are on the platform, and that was kind of the other reason I really stuck with it, because I liked the opportunity to just be rewarded for authenticity, I guess. So not to knock on all of the other platforms, I'm sure they're fantastic, but I just haven't ever been able to get traction on them anyway.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Every single platform has its own everything, its own scope, its own algorithms, its own all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I agree. I think like creating something for YouTube and creating something for Instagram or TikTok is two very different skills and two very different types of storytelling. And I think if authenticity is what you are going for, or kind of like the end goal, then I definitely think the longer form YouTube 10 minutes is way better than kind of like, I got 30 seconds to be as snappy as I possibly can. It's quite hard, in my opinion, to make a pretty authentic take on things. So from an ideation standpoint, so let's talk a little bit about that. So you know, obviously, okay, we need to make a new episode. What does ideation look like for you and for the team, and kind of like, how do you come up with what the next episode's going to be?
We have a few different, I guess, categories of videos that we put on the channel. So devlog is one of them, where literally what it is just looking at what we've done in the last 2 months and which parts of our dev process would be the most interesting to put into a video. Because I could like get deep into the weeds about how we spent all this time optimizing our code to ensure the frame rates were correct or the tile sets were implemented. Like, there's stuff that is interesting to maybe me, but I doubt viewers would take as much interest in that sort of thing. So we'll look back at the last couple of months of development, and from there I'll kind of pick topics that I think would make for good videos. And then the cadence that I've tried to follow, which sometimes gets lost in the weeds when we have like tons of work to do, but I've tried to upload at least once every 2 weeks, and then occasionally I'll try to do once a week. And so like that cadence paired with a backlog of here are things that we've made over the last couple of months tends to work really well, because it's like, okay, I'm holding myself to a due date, and now I got to go make a devlog. And so I'll dig through that list. And so the last one I made was about like the debugging process and all of the bugs that we've had to squish recently. So I'll pull it out of that list. I'll throw it into a Google Doc, and then just do like a really brief outline, bulleted points.
Yeah.
And turn that into like an actual voiceover script and go from there.
When you're doing the scripting, are you full sentencing or just keeping still more high level and then letting kind of more of the artistic let's call it rhythm and flow take over?
I've found that I script every word and it goes better. I will
Okay.
write it verbatim and read it verbatim. Cool. So yeah, I've got this Google Doc. This is precisely what I read for the creation of a devlog. I'll start with this. I record it with my little miniature setup. I've got a condenser mic here that's used for singing and voiceover work. I got it for like, I want to say less than $100 on Amazon about
Yeah.
8 years ago. It's a good mic. I think it is anyway. And yeah, I'll just read the entirety of the script exactly as I have it. And the funny thing about like this part of the process, and the thing that's nice about it, is I can make as many mistakes as I want and just re-record it.
Yeah.
So, you know, for this phrase in particular, maybe I would stumble on my words within my purview with it, and I'll stop and I'll be like, okay, hold on, try this again. Within my purview, I've been refining the gameplay in TetherGeist, right? And that whole thing I'll just record directly, like into Premiere. I don't know how in the weeds you want me to get with the technical part after that, but that's kind of the first step of every devlog, is just putting down the actual audio, and that acts as the foundational piece.
And is in for the outline, are you kind of templatizing that, and you're starting each episode or each video with that again, like intro, point 1, point 2, point 3, outro?
So I always do conclusion, right? And then the body is just dependent upon the content itself and what I'm actually going to be talking about in that devlog.
And by all means, we'd love for you to go into the weeds.
Sure. So I use Adobe Premiere. I know there's a ton of other programs out there. People really like DaVinci. I think is free open source one.
Yeah, DaVinci, great platform.
Yeah. So I imagine that one's really good. The process I've gotten pretty quick with, just because I've done so many of these. It's really easy to just visually see where the breaths are going to be, just based off of like where the audio waves are and stuff like that. And so that process of like recording the voiceover, let's say this is what, like a 5-minute devlog, that probably took me about 10 to 15 minutes to record it, and then took me another probably 30 to 45 minutes to cut out all of the breaths and the like dead noise and the bad takes and stuff, until I have like this very clear line. This is the finalized voiceover, and I finalize that first before I do anything else. And doing it this way, I found it like is really nice workflow in that where I've cut to take breaths are also really good places to cut the video feed. So it makes for a really fast workflow, because then at that point I just need to go get the footage, and I've already got like a template and skeleton as to what footage needs to exist where anyway. So it's all planned out at that point for me.
So can we talk about then, when it comes to your skeleton of, okay, this is the footage that I want to get, or maybe as you're kind of writing your script, I'm guessing that you are in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, yeah, B-roll shot 1, B-roll shot 2, B-roll shot 3.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I get that granular. Some of it's just kind of gut reactions. Like while I'm listening to the script mid-editing, I'll be like, oh, that should be where like I find a clip about bugs. So this devlog I think is the Kickstarter one, but some of it really is like improvisation, I guess, for lack of a better term, where it's like I just talked about in this one, I don't know, like there's a clip where it talks about how much we made on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And so I'll immediately say, well, I guess it makes sense to show a visualization of the chart over time. And so I'll just go grab that footage while I'm in Premiere and just slap it in there. And I've got like a file system that I use too, right? Like I'll record a screen recording using OBS, and then I'll take that file and put it in a sub footage folder that's dedicated to Devlog 26, if it's like a proprietary to that devlog, and use it just there.
Okay.
And then other times I'll have a moment where it's like, oh, this is clearly a good opportunity to showcase a different game. And I have been slowly working on creating like my own local database of just screen recordings of games that I've played. Or sometimes I'll even go grab like a playthrough video, like a 10-second clip from another YouTube video to create a cohesive story, right? Yeah. But most of it's like TetherGeist recordings,
yeah,
as you're well aware, which I guess I could point out too. What I'll do intermittently, probably once a month, maybe every other month, is I'll play through the entirety of TetherGeist and record my whole playthrough so that I have, like 30 minutes of just gameplay footage.
Very interesting. I feel like even just the fact of doing, hey, whenever I pause, that's a great time to splice. And now that I'm thinking about it in like thinking about your devlog and thinking about kind of the way you're editing it, it's like maybe that it's like it just feels so natural. It feels very smooth, and I do think that that's a big reason for it, right? Obviously, I think you do a great job selecting music, which we can also get into, but I do think it adds the level of just like flow and ease to your devlog and in the story that you're trying to tell within those 10 to 12 minutes, if you will.
I think it's a win-win, because the visuals match the flow of the conversation, and it's easier for me because I can see exactly where I'm going to put clips. So you can see right here, like this is an intro sequence that I always use after I've given my hook. And I would argue that's like one of the most important things about making a good devlog is making those first 30 seconds. I've hit a point where I know the viewer is invested in knowing what I'm going to be talking about. So this whole thing, right, just operates as a chance to first talk about what the video is going to be about, as well as kind of pique people's interest a bit. And then I keep this super short. I think this is less than 5 seconds, not even. It's like 3 seconds or something for the title sequence. So I've got that, and I kind of have like, as you're aware, like the outro is always going to ask people to subscribe and that sort of stuff. And when I first started doing this, I always like hated the feeling of being that guy asking for subscribers and asking for like, go wishlist my game and stuff like that. I have since completely gotten comfortable with it for a couple reasons. One, that's the whole reason I'm doing the devlog in the first place, is to get people to be aware of what I'm up to. And two, if they're here, it's what they want in the first place. Like, I want my YouTube feed to be full of other indie developers' devlogs, because that's the kind of content that like brings me joy and that is inspiring for me. So if they ask me to subscribe to their channel, it's less of them being an irritant to me and more of them inviting me to do something I already want to do and just making sure I don't forget to do it.
So actually, before we jump into music, can we? I want to actually rewind on something and double click on something that you actually just talked about, which is you are not diving in right away with like, okay, episode starts and here's the intro screen, but in fact, you are giving roughly about a 1 minute, it looks like 1 minute hook. When it comes to writing that hook, can we walk through that process a little bit?
Yeah. So it comes back to the script. So I'll write out these bullet points first. Oh my gosh, it's so fast now that I plugged my laptop in. I wonder if it was in battery saver mode, so it wasn't. Anyway, so I'll write the outline first before I even consider an intro. So that way I know exactly what the juice of the video is going to be, because the last thing I want to do is have an unauthentic introduction, or like, you got to watch until the end to get everything. Like, I understand that works probably more than it should, but I'm pretentious. I guess I'm rude. I like don't want to be like that. I want the hook to be highly relevant to what the video is, so that when you've clicked on it, you're pretty much immediately rewarded with information that is going to be relevant throughout the rest of the video and the whole reason you clicked it in the first place. So I write the body first, and then that's usually what informs what I want to put in the intro. And at that point, I'll kind of do just a bit of a gut check to say, well, what's some of the most interesting like content that is going to be in this video, and how can I create an attention grabbing introduction to my video that is related to like the most interesting thing in the video. So sometimes I'll go that way. I guess other times I also really like using a hook that kind of pulls the I try to get in the viewer's mindset. Like, they've been scrolling through YouTube, they're going to click on, this might be like the 10th video they've watched in the last seating. I don't know what it is, but they're existing within a space that isn't necessarily thinking about code and devlogs. And so sometimes I'll also focus on maybe a really broad topic that just about everybody can really quickly comprehend and quickly be interested in, and then use that broad topic to kind of segue into what the video is about. This one's pretty narcissistic, I guess. But the intro talks about how like what our journey has been and what it was like at the beginning and what it is now. And I guess that's really kind of the whole point of this video. So this is a good example of going through the body first and then finding what I think the most interesting part of the body of the video is and making an intro accordingly. Like, this was the one where I talked about having a whole year of working on a video game. So that's kind of like the most interesting thing. It's been 365 days. What was it like at the beginning? Like, anyway, that's kind of my process. Sorry, it's a little convoluted, but that's the idea behind it.
That's awesome. I could 365. I know you're far past 365 now, but it's still a pretty big testament. And I'm sure you do go back, and whether it's looking at old devlogs or whatever it is, like, again, old Jordan, past Jordan, and current Jordan are two very different people.
Yeah, a lot changes. Well, and it's funny. Like I'll go back and watch devlogs, and within I want to say 1 or 2 months, I'm already like, oh wow, we've changed so much. What TetherGeist is like, people watching this video
Yeah.
are watching a game that doesn't exist anymore because it's already evolved from what it was. But
Which I guess comes also with its own level of difficulty, and again, I'm sure it's not the end of the world type of thing. But if someone wants to go back and be like, or if they're discovering one of your older videos first, and they're looking at whether it's art style, animation, things that have been fixed and updated, but it's I'm sure you're also playing a bit of a fine line of like, okay, well, again, please come see the newest thing, as opposed to like, hey, that
Yeah.
video came out 2 years ago or a year ago or whatever it is. And like you said, TetherGeist has updated so much, especially even from the first demo I've played compared to the most recent build that you and the team have released. I've felt a very big difference from how the game actually plays.
Yep. I'm glad you felt that. We've worked hard on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it was a good
Well,
change.
yeah. Thankfully, the viewers and myself get to go behind the scenes and see all of the hard work that goes into creating the game.
Yeah.
But I do want to actually jump into everyone's favorite topic, Jordan, and that is analytics. So, of course, you get some YouTube analytics of, okay, this is how many people watch the video, and this is your numbers of up votes and down votes and things along those lines. But you also do get analytics regarding how long someone viewed the video and how long someone watched it. So, let's start with, how does the analytics of a YouTube video help shape both kind of like, okay, this is how I personally maybe feel about this episode, but then also with your future episodes down the line?
Yeah. And I'm happy to be super transparent about YouTube analytics. I've always appreciated when other devs do that. So I can show you exactly our numbers. So I guess coming back to the question, so I don't get too off topic, you're asking what kind of analytics, like what numbers I see that influence my sentiment towards videos and maybe strategy with them in the
Yeah,
future.
or maybe a better way of framing the question is, when you load up your YouTube creator dashboard, is there any particular analytics that you are focusing on, and maybe ones
Yeah.
that you're not as kind of worried about, whether it's, you want to call it a vanity metric or whatever that looks like?
Yeah, vanity metric. Yeah, let's pull it up. So current subscribers is always the first thing that my eye is drawn to. I assume that's how it is for just about everybody. And it's designed that way, right? So there are UX designers behind why the dashboard is the way it is for YouTube Studio. And I should preface what I'm about to say about analytics with the just general sentiment I have towards this. I feel like YouTube treats its creators really well. I've been really happy with how transparent they are with the data and how they are trying to enable me to have the most successful channel I can. It's just built into their system. So without sounding too much like a Google fanboy, like I really do like the tools that they provide. So anyway, subscribers is always kind of like the big thing that I look at first. And I'm really concerned with kind of two major things on my YouTube channel, and it's continuing to grow the audience and then performance of like the latest 2 or 3 videos. Once they've been out long enough, they just kind of become a slow burn that brings in occasional views here or there. But it's the recent ones. Obviously, that's how they've designed the dashboard too, right? You look at the most recent video. And what I like to do when I'm trying to optimize, so there's I guess 2 things that I'm looking at. There's, what should my next video strategically be about? And what can I learn from the data I have now to make sure the next video is as successful as possible? And then, is there anything I can do with the title and thumbnail of the current video to help like give it a little more juice than it's getting currently? And then I would also say consistency is also the thing. Like, you're going to have clunkers constantly. Like this one in my mind is a clunker. I thought this one would do a lot better than it's doing. And at that point, there's only so much I can do with this video. So I've already been running tests. I don't know if you've used this feature yet. Yeah, it's kind of fun to look at, actually. This one has a pretty radical difference between thumbnails. And this is my second round of tests.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the things I'll do to optimize it. And you can see, like, I think it's about right here. There's a tiny bump. So it influenced, hold on. Oh, that's impressions. Yeah, that's impressions. So you can see like the slope is a little steeper there, but it didn't do a ton. At any rate, I'll run a test with 3 thumbnails. And then whichever one wins within the first test, I'll keep that thumbnail and create 2 new ones, iterating on the winner.
Very cool.
So that's
you're not just letting one win and moving on from there. You're actually taking that winner and then continuing to elaborate, or continuing to expand on it, I should say.
Yeah. And just trying to see like, what about that winner can I like capitalize more on? And it sometimes doesn't result in anything. So it can be a little disheartening going through that process and not seeing like tangible results, but I also have seen it. Like I want to say about 10% of the videos that I do this with, I do notice like it made a difference,
Wow.
a really good difference. So like this one, for example, this was the winner of round 1 using Billy Basso's Animal Well. I had a couple others that I had made. Maybe I'll boot up Illustrator while I get into that, but that's the one that won. So I was like, okay, something about having pixel art to the right because that feels achievable, and having really big text that says start making games on the left worked well. So that's when I pulled in like my own artwork, and I pulled in like Undertale because that's a game everybody knows.
Yeah, I feel like Undertale is the perfect baseline, you know?
And that thumbnail's not doing well, apparently. That one's terrible. Probably because Undertale doesn't feel relevant. If I had to try to just extrapolate why, like 2025, why are we looking at a game that's like way older than that? So this is the last devlog. That's the other thing I should point out. Devlog series is one of the things that we make. Video essays is kind of like the other category. And video essays are the ones that are more strategically targeting like what I think is likely to gain a lot of traction, as well as add a lot of value to the discussion of like indie development as a whole. So this one was supposed to be that kind of a video, right? Like a beginner's guide to making video games. That's not a devlog, but it is something that I think is potentially really valuable to add to the conversation, because a lot of different indie devs have different approaches, and I feel like getting a different perspective could have been valuable. Anyway, these were like the original ones that I used, and I originally tried like putting Peach in here, you know, like she was the one smacking a bug out of the park.
It's so
and
awesome.
that's kind of fun, right? This is a bug that like I built with a little bit of like AI assistance, so that is
Very cool.
like proprietary image. But this performed horribly. This thumbnail, I want to say it was like 22% or lower of the view, and so I swapped her out with Waluigi, who everybody liked more. He actually did better. But neither of those mattered, because at the end of the day, this thumbnail kept winning. So this one was actually the winner. So I iterated on that specifically. I think I actually deleted the other ones. Anyway, yeah. So that's one part of the strategy. The other part of the strategy is picking content that's relevant. And then once you've kind of like realized, and it doesn't take long, like this video has done what it can, it's way better to just make a new video instead of trying to tweak different titles. Some of like the best ones have been let me see if I can filter.
There you go, your Kickstarter final week, phenomenal.
Yeah, that one did amazing. Had nothing to do with paying for ads. That one's the only one that's not organic. And this one, I think it gained literally 5,000 views organically, and then it was dead in the water. And we were like, we have a Kickstarter going on and we need visibility on this thing. So we threw a good chunk of money at this to get more visibility. Because there's an immediate return based on click-through rates. If somebody backs your Kickstarter, the ad has been refunded. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So at any rate, but the ones that have done really, really well, funnily enough, the half a year one did significantly better than the full year one. Half a year of game dev, it's nearly identical as far as the thumbnail and the hook of the title. So that one was really baffling to me. That felt like kind of the mysteries of the algorithm playing tricks on us. But maybe there's something to be said about 180 feeling more achievable, and people want to know what they can do in 6 months and aren't ready to commit a whole year to game development. Maybe it's something like that. And I should point out there's a lot of that speculating. So when a video performs well or poorly, like, you can use A/B tests to try to narrow down specific variables, but there's also just a lot of guesswork to really understand like why a video did well or why it didn't.
Yeah.
Because like, why do so many indie games use pixel art? That's our best video essay. And I that was the same process, right? Like I went through 3 thumbnails originally and then found the one that was best and iterated on that one. And truth be told, the only reason I even made this video is because it was an interesting question that I just feel like everybody has. It's kind of a gut thought. And then when I searched on YouTube, I saw only like 3 videos on the topic, and they all performed way better than the amount of subscribers the channels had that made them.
Nice.
So that was kind of like the gut check, like, okay. But yeah, so a lot of it's just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And then I think within that realm, you always have to make sure that the videos just feel high quality, or at least high enough quality. At least that's what our channel is going for.
Yep.
Because we're trying to portray a certain degree of expertise that we may or may not always have. But portraying that in a way that opens up a good discussion tends to work really well. And it kind of take a leaf out of the book of GMTK. Mark Brown has been very forthright lately that he's like, guys, I'm just a journalist. This is the first time I've even made a video game, but because I have a commanding British accent and I have good quality content, you guys have been listening. And anyway, I take heart knowing that there's a lot of value you can add to a discussion, even if you are just barely starting out.
I think everything that you said is right on the money. And I do think, honestly, Jordan, I think there's a lot of people out there who in a way need to hear that, right? And in a way, like in the strange way that humans work, of like sometimes people just require permission to start a devlog or to be consistent with these things. But I think even just with you showing your back end and being transparent, that like there's a lot of lessons that people can take away, both from how important things like consistency is, right, along all the way down to doing things of not just like, okay, let's test different thumbnails to make sure that we are getting the best one out. But even what you said earlier, of sometimes it's just better to continue on as opposed to worrying about how can I squeeze a little bit more out of this lemon. And I think that's an important, as a creator, and that doesn't matter if you're creating a devlog, if you're creating a video game, whatever you're creating. I think it's an important skill to have, and also being able to take that step back and reflect on the, like, okay, like we got this, it either worked, it didn't work, but let us continue moving this boulder forward.
Yeah, and learn from it. I love the lemon analogy. That's such a perfect analogy, right? Because the lemon's only got so much juice, you know? And truth be told, sometimes there's way more juice there than you think, but it's so much better to go plant, and it is planting trees, I would say. It's because it takes a long time sometimes for something to take off. So yeah, don't keep juicing the same lemons. Like go plant more trees and see which ones take off, because a lot of trees are going to die too.
Like, 1,000%. And maybe just sticking on this analogy. So let's call it lemons, limes, the different flavors of your devlogs. And you've talked about it before. So you have the devlog, you have a video essay. Do you find one performs better than the other? Is there a type that you enjoy doing more? Or again, when it comes to creating your next video or your next strategy, how much of we haven't done a video essay in 4 episodes, let's throw one in, like how let's maybe talk through a little bit more about the types of videos that you're creating.
Yeah, I think they both serve uniquely different purposes. So maybe it's lemons and apples or something to that degree. The devlog series almost always performs worse than the video essay series as far as number of views go. If you're only measuring trying to get people to come to your YouTube channel and watch your stuff, the devlog series isn't always the strongest method. However, the devlog series provides a sense of consistency with our existing subscribers, and it creates a much more loyal audience that is like deeply engaged with what we're doing. So the value of a view on a devlog might be a lot higher than the value of a view on a video essay, because it's a type of community engagement. And the other value that, I mean, you can see it in the numbers, the devlog series have a much higher subscriber rate. Like we get a lot more subscribers per view in the devlog than we do on the video essays. In fact, I could probably, I don't know if this is, I might be eating my words here, but out of the 81,000 views on this one, we got 500 subscribers. That's still 500 subscribers. That's awesome. But if I pull up, let's do something like this just for the sake of discussion. We could do just some quick, dirty math. Math is what I said, by the way. Like that came out weird. What would be a good example? There's one that 4 years of game dev is the one I'm looking for. Because that one like is a modestly good performer. Yeah, perfect. So the 4 years of game dev one, that's when me talking about my very first journey, like before I even started making TetherGeist. That's a devlog that has a little more than half the views, but significantly less, and yet it got even more subscribers.
Yeah.
Anyway, just trying to illustrate the point there. The devlog creates a really good audience. And the other thing I found is nobody comes up and talks to me about my video essays, right? It's not like, oh, I love this essay on that, because a lot of people are doing essays. But the devlog cultivates a lot of like opportunities for discussions like this one, where fellow indies, fellow developers and podcasters and whatever it is, it's the devlog that really is like the really meaty, exciting stuff to talk about. That's what I found to be the difference.
Yeah, that's awesome. Again, and even just to break that, like it's like you literally, it's almost half of the views got you 40% more subscribers. So
yeah,
like when you look at it, even just from a percentage standpoint, I think it's pretty wild.
It's striking, right? And sometimes it's not as wild as that. Maybe it's a video that only has 5,000 views, but the rate, right? You get way more subscribers per view in the devlog.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm knocking on video essays more than I should. Video essays are really, really good. And
no, they're phenomenal. Yeah.
A lot of our subscribers come from that too. And it's also a really good way to branch out.
Yeah, and there's definitely a shared audience, right? I think it's like, even as
Yeah.
someone who, like, I'm not a dev myself, but again, I appreciate a video essay, but I also very much appreciate a devlog. But they do serve two different purposes. But it's not to say that like one should be one doesn't live without the other, right?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. They just serve two completely different purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, both are good. And that is one of the biggest pain points for devlog creators, is they feel like they're only talking in an echo chamber with fellow developers. They feel like they're not reaching an audience outside of developers.
Yep.
And video essays are a great way to break out of just that audience.
Yeah,
So
it gives you a bit of a palate cleanser to also talk about another game or something, someone else that you want to highlight, right? And then in return, I do, again, I think what you do a great job with your video, or with your video essays, I should say, is even when you're talking about another game, you still do a great job of looping TetherGeist back into the conversation. But it's a very nice way. It's a nice kind of like subtle tap on the shoulder of like, we still exist, but there's also some amazing people doing amazing things in this space as well, which is a nice change of pace sometimes as well.
Yeah, you got to be strategic about it, right? Because if you're too overt, people hate you.
1,000%. The internet can be a very scary place, my friend.
It can. I will say there's something special about our community. For every one negative comment we get on our YouTube channel, we probably get 500 positive ones. They're so far and few in between. Something about indie developers. They're just really nice. At least my experience has been that.
You cannot ask for much better than that. But on like in kind of this goes back to even just on my like from a professional standpoint and things like that. But one of the first things that you said during this interview is your goal of the YouTube channel is to be authentic. And I think a lot of that, like that in a way, is your mission and vision statement for this YouTube channel, right? Like you authentically want to promote and market and have people see your game that you're creating. And I think the fact that you're leading with authenticity also really helps to cultivate that community that you do see, right? Of, hey, if you're getting one negative comment and 500 positives like that especially on YouTube and other places, like that's a
maybe
phenomenal...
it's only 200, but it's big.
Like that's a great stat, right? Where I think there's other channels, and not even just in the game dev space, but just in general, right? Like when they're coming in with their top priority is maybe clicks or enragement or things like that, and you go and you scroll through those comments, it's a very different world than what you're experiencing.
That's a great point. I'm in a bubble, a little safe space. It's funny. We've had people on our Discord server say that specific thing too. They've said that they feel really safe with our community, which hopefully we can keep it that way as it grows.
I know from experience, and even just doing freaking cool indies, that juggling a full-time job and juggling life and juggling being a game dev and just everything that comes along is a very, very, very difficult, right? I don't care what anyone says. It's probably the hardest part of all of this. Talk to me just about balancing, right? I know you're a father, you're a family man, you work, you have a full-time job, and you're doing O&Co on the side, I guess, with the hopes and goals of making this more full-time, is at least what I am guessing. But just talk to me overall about how you balance creating YouTube videos, doing everything with TetherGeist, and just, I don't know, being a human being.
Sure. I would hate for anything I say to be seen as prescriptive, because everybody is so different. So I should point that out as a disclaimer, because for me individually, I just am naturally very restless. It's hard for me to sit still and just focus on one thing. And so as far as balancing a career goes, ever since I started my career over a decade ago, it was very difficult for me to sit in a cubicle for 8 hours a day and then come home and feel fulfilled with what I had created and what I had done. And so I've always had to have something I like look forward to at the end of the day. I had a band in college and we were terrible, but like that was my thing, right? Like I was like, how am I going to work on writing this song or creating this flyer that we're going to tape all over the street that nobody's going to read? Like I've always had something that I generally kind of keep in the back of my head that like, okay, when the kids go to bed and it's 9 o'clock at night, I have a project I can work on, right? I have something I can create. So that's just kind of built into my DNA. Like I feel like I always have to be creating something, no matter how good or bad I am at it, because I've created a lot of really bad stuff that's just not quality. And honestly, TetherGeist would be very bad if it weren't for Rachel and Noah, my dev partners. And I just said Rachel publicly. So anybody who's made it this long in the podcast, her name is actually Rachel, but we all call her Rae. And then of course, Jeff recently joined. But so I'm getting distracted with myself. But that's the first thing is part of how I'm able to work on a lot of things. Is it's not that I'm like good at it as much as it's hard for me to sit still. So that's built into the way I function. As far as balancing things goes, though, like at a tactical level, you just have to be present with whatever you're currently doing, which I realize is kind of a contradictory statement to say I have something in the back of my head I'm waiting to do at the end of the day. So I try to not focus on that too much. Like if I'm at work, I am focused on work, and the hours I spend there are focused on that. The time between like 5 o'clock and 8 is like sacred family time. And at that time I am dadding, and that is what I'm doing. Fridays are like my wife's time, period. And so for me, like categorizing it that way has been a really kind of powerful way to be productive, to really like time box what I'm going to be working on. So like YouTube videos are the same thing. I try to hold myself to a cadence of every 2 weeks. I haven't been great with it all the time, but that's usually the goal. And that means that when I start my day at work, I'm thinking to myself, when 9 o'clock hits, as much as I would love to play video games with my buddies or something, I got to dedicate at least 2 hours to devlogging tonight, So yeah, that's kind of the way that I've approached it. And I'm not perfect either at it. So it'd be great if I could say, I every time 9 o'clock hits, I am developing TetherGeist and I'm being disciplined about it. Like sometimes I'm just so tired. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go play Smash Bros. Like I can't do this tonight. So, be patient, but it's the restlessness that I think drives it truly is. Yeah,
I'm with you. I feel like I'm very much on board. And again, I do not create video games, but that restlessness of like my wife it's like she loves watching your shows. She likes doing her hobbies there, but then she's just like, don't you get tired of just like working on stuff? Or it's like, no, I don't know. It's just fun. Like
it fills your bucket.
Even if it's garbage, it's just fun. Like at the end of the day, that's awesome, man. And again, I think I'm right there with you. I think you have a good outlook on all of it. And also taking the time to fully understand that, hey, like between 5 and 8 or 5 to 9, like this is sacred hours. You know what I mean? This is family time. This is my time to be with my family. I think holding true to those things is very, very important as well.
It is. The rest of it wouldn't matter.
Yep, 1,000%. It's what you are doing all of this for at the end of the day. So yeah. Jordan, last thing for you, and maybe some on the more encouragement, motivation side, but if there is an indie dev listening to this podcast and they are on the fence about starting a YouTube channel, what advice would you give them besides run and just like don't
run away, don't do it? Not at all. My advice would be to jump in, just do it. It's so easy what and what you're able to deliver are always going to be incongruent. And what I mean by that is like, you know what good music sounds like, but maybe you're not a great musician. Maybe you're an incredible musician, whatever it is. Like you can't be perfect at what you're going to do. And you're going to have to release stuff that is bad, and just do it anyway. Looking at Devlog 0 is really cringy for me. I hate Devlog 0, but that's like what kickstarted the whole thing for us. So yeah, my advice is just to do it. I know some people say as far as like allocating time goes, that could be a big consideration. So I would also advise devs who are starting out to like be strategic about how much time you want to spend on YouTube and how much time you want to spend developing video games. Because it is easy to get sucked into seeking attention now and getting that dopamine hit now of like, I got views on this video.
Yep.
And I've seen it happen. People get sucked into that too much to the point where they're spending more time on YouTube than they are actually making games. Yeah. So be strategic of how you balance your time as well. But I honestly see very little reason besides time constraint to avoid a YouTube channel. If you have the time to do it, like, do it. It serves as a great motivating factor. If you have an audience that's going to be following along, it can motivate you to be more productive with your development time. It gets eyes on your project such that you can get feedback sooner so that you don't go too far down a rabbit hole if it's going to be a bad rabbit hole. Yeah, just do it and make garbage, make bad videos and learn from it, right? Because you get better and better. And, if you stick with it too, the consistency you hear all the time, if you really hold yourself to consistently making videos, by the time you've been working on it for 6 months to a year, you'll be able to look back and be like, oh my gosh, my videos are so much better now. And I've learned so much along the way. Like, it's just a great experience all around. Yeah, I guess that's my my advice.
One of my favorite creators, Pat Flynn, if you aren't familiar with him, one of his I guess like quotes that he says, or one of his taglines is, "You have to be cringe before they binge." And
that's a great line.
It's amazing, right? It's so good. It's like, it's just like, oh, come on, Pat, like you're a genius, man. But it's a great line.
Yeah.
It truly is. And I think at the beginning stage, it's always hard to put yourself out there because there is that disconnect, right? Of like, I know what a good devlog looks like. I know what a good interview looks like. I know what a good anything. I know what a good video game looks like. But it's those reps and those repetitions, I should say, getting it out there and getting feedback. And again, like you guys do a fantastic job with feedback. And okay, cool. This is like, when I say feedback, I mean you're play testers, right? Like people come in, they play test, and then you're actually making tangible ones. You have a great devlog about it. I'll link it in the video. Regardless, again, I think that's a wonderful piece of encouragement. And then honestly, man, my last thing for you, and with something as I am starting to move forward with freaking cool indies, is I want to make sure that I am giving my guests the time to pay it forward and just highlight or promote or talk about a project of not just theirs, but another creator in this crazy world of indie devs, and someone that you would love to kind of highlight and talk about and shout from the rooftops.
Is it a cop out to say Matt Black Studios and Lucid? Because that's the first one. Him and Thomas Stewart, I would say both of them are really, really good ones to follow. But yeah, huge shout out to Eric over at Matt Black Studio making the game Lucid. His vision for his Celesteoidvania, he's calling it, is just so amazing, and his energy and excitement for making video games is contagious. And if you get to know him, like, he's just a good, wholesome spirit. He's just a good guy. I'm on his Discord server, and he like rallied a bunch of people together to like reminisce about all the hate comments that we get on our YouTubes and Twitter.
Love that.
he's just a wholesome person, and the game just looks really, really, really good. So he's the one I think I would point to is Lucid by Matt Black Studio. It's gonna be fire. That's gonna be a really good game.
And I will I'll put the wish list and everything in the comments for any of our listeners or viewers who want to check out Lucid as well. And me and Jordan were talking prior in the green room, and I was telling
was a green room.
The game looks freaking wicked. So I'm glad that you gave him a shout out. So, and I guess besides that, Jordan, where can the people find you? Where's the best way for people to connect with you and O & Co Games and check out TetherGeist?
On freaking cool indies. You can find us all over the place. We are on Steam. I assume there will be a link to our demo there, so you can play it right now. Anybody listening to this could play the demo of TetherGeist right now, and it's about 1 to 2 hours experience already. Yeah. The demo. So that'd be the first place to go. Go to Steam, wishlist it. Obviously, we're on YouTube. Follow our devlog series there. And on every one of our videos, we link our Discord server. So if you want to like talk to me directly, our server is still small enough to where I will respond to just about 100% of people who talk to me directly on the server. So that's another place you can get in contact. Yeah,
I can confirm that, because that's how I got contacted with you. And once again, it was one of those one of those like, holy shit moments. He answered me. It's awesome. So again, Jordan, I want to say just thank you truly for walking us through your process, your thoughts, your strategy, and just being so transparent. I truly, honestly appreciate it. And I do believe there's going to be a lot of people out there who watch this or listen to this and find value. And for anyone out there who is thinking about starting a devlog, like Jordan was saying, put your foot down, take the first step and just start writing and record one sentence at a time. And you got this. It's a great way of getting your game out there, and something where it's not that scary. You just keep going, keep doing it. So I guess with that, Jordan, I officially deem you a freaking cool indie. Thank you once again for jumping on. Thank you for all that you do, and I am so thrilled and excited to continue following TetherGeist. So thank you, Jordan. And with that, have a great night, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good night.